another violin on the planet. Maybe the camera won't pick it up, but I've yet to hear another violin on the planet that has the volume this thing is. I want to put obligatos on here just to break the roof. Like it's just to see the windows get blown out, because and a Pristrio gold E on there, just to see what it will do, because this thing is definitely geared towards the soloist instrument. This thing has a very dovish, quiet personality. This thing has a very dark and moody personality. This thing is I'm here, I'm in the room, pay attention to me. Where are you? You're at the back of the room. Don't worry, I'll find you. Trust me, I remember the guy that played it last year. He played it and he went, "Oh, he's not too bad." He goes, "Wow," he says, "that really pumps out there, you know." But it's got a really big fingerboard on it. And then I'll show you one more violin, and I know the video is going on a little bit longer. I'll have to end up probably splicing them together. But anyway, this violin here, although I started working on it again yesterday, this is my 1920 Prokop. This is the most brilliant sounding violin when the neck doesn't pull off of it, which I should start working on that again today. This thing is very beautiful. It's a weird pattern on this. The Prokops were different than the Stradivari, so it's not really a dedicated Stradivari design. It's a lot longer in pattern, but it's bright. This thing is so bright. This is like, if you're going to play Bach, this is the instrument you want. There's throw the Stradivari out, this is what you want. If you're going to play Bach, this is what you want. It's so brilliant, this violin. The other pieces of it are over there, and I'm going to be working on this a bit today. Just a weird day, kind of stuck inside, so I figured to make videos, but I paid $100 for this one altogether, and then it pulled apart on me, and I probably got about 150 into this one. But when it's back together, and we'll probably have it back together fairly soon. I mean, this is a 1920 instrument, so, you know, the glue let go. You know, that happens. It's not the end of the world. It's fixable, completely fixable. But the thing is that this instrument, again, violin dealer book value in mint condition is between $700 and $2,700 violin. How do they price it? I don't know. The year, the age, the maker, the guy, you know, like, for example, the less instruments a maker makes, the more rare they are. The more rare they are, the older they are. That adds to the value. How banged up and scuffed up and maybe got a postage stamp on it, that will devalue it a bit, but then it might add character. Who owned it? You know, like if I were to, like, let's say, what's the guy's there? David, what's his name? Anyway, the violin guy there. Anyways, David, I'm going to think of his name in a second. But anyway, you know, Ponytail, you know, he's a good player or whatever. If he owned it, if I owned this and I sold it to you, you'd probably offer me whatever you'd offer me for it, right? If he owned it, you'd have to offer him tens of thousands of dollars, you know, maybe $1 million, right? David David Garrett, I think is. So if he owned it, you know, because it wouldn't be that it was a better violin. It didn't make it. It's just it now has a history attached to it. So that'll add to prices. It doesn't make sense to a lot of people. A lot of people, they don't get that. They're like, okay, I don't understand why you're charging me this or that. Now, to the common man and woman, you're going to find that there's a couple of different grade levels of violins. The first grade level is obviously student violins. Student violins are great because they're all built to a standard. They're all pretty much in the same price range. And you pretty much, like I say, you don't always get what you pay for. But you're going to usually, it's going to be uniform. It'll be like, okay, well, this is the VL100. Usually the 100 or the 01s are usually the beginner. The intermediate violins are usually the VL like 200, that type of thing. Okay, well, that's the next stage. That's the guy that can play, wants a little more cosmetics. He wants a little more sound, a little better quality, a little, you know, better craftsmanship, whatever. And then you get in, which is the intermediate ones. The intermediate ones are kind of all over the map price-wise as well. And then you get into what's like the maestro violins, which can range from any price. And then you get virtuoso. Virtuoso, don't worry about it. You probably kind of, you know, you'd be ashamed to ask the price. You know what I mean? Like my uncle used to say, if you have to ask, you can't afford it anyway. But we're talking about, you know, the virtuoso ones are like extremely expensive. You know, tens of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars. So don't worry about those ones. What makes her that price again? If it was made by Stradivari or Guarneri or Armonti, yeah, those violins are going to be next to priceless. Jacob Steiner violins. Does this sound better or worse than a Jacob Steiner violin, considering the pattern is similar? Probably sounds about the same. So why is his going to be, a Jacob Steiner, going to be much, much more, or a Hop violin? Because of the history. The maker got popular. So it's like anything. You're going to pay a lot for those things too. But if you just want to walk in the store and say, I got this much money, I want something good, you have to pull every violin off the wall within your price range and everything below it, right? And then maybe a few above it to get comparisons. So for me, I've played a lot of violins that were, I think one was like $3,700. And it doesn't play anywhere near as nice as this one. But it didn't sound the same either. But, it sounded good, don't get me wrong. But I'd take this over that any day. And this wasn't even close to that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. This one, same thing, that's, I got cheap prelude strings on this thing. And that's the sound you get out of cheap prelude strings. It's a little bit beat up, whatever. It plays fairly well. I got it set up pretty good. I did the pegs. It holds tuning amazingly, usually. Got the Whitner tuner piece on there, whatever. This thing it's a workhorse. I mean, what's that worth? You know what I mean? It's probably the one. This violin, I tune it up like twice a year. I play it almost every other day, but it's like it's really, really, it's really something special that way. So what's that worth to you? You know what I mean? So there's a whole bunch of things there to consider. So the price is not going to ever be set, like what should you pay for a good violin, whatever. You have to try it. You have to see if it's a functional violin. You have to, the sound is very subjective. Maybe you like the brighter, louder, in-your-face sound of something like this. Maybe you like the dark, moody sound or the soft, sweet tone. You got 3 different tones right here. This one here, yes, this is the loud, hey, I'm in the room. It doesn't matter where you're standing, it'll find you. This is kind of like less imposing. This would probably be good in an orchestra because it's not so out front. This one, they'd be say, could somebody turn that damn thing down? Like it punches out. Like it's amazing that the mid range on this instrument is just fantastic. Like you could play in a bluegrass band. I seen it. Like I handed it to a guy because I wanted to see what it was going to be like in the mix, and I was just like, man, that thing's not even mic'd, and it's like he's standing like 2 feet from the microphone, and he still has to stand back a bit because it's overtaking the double bass sound. You know what I mean? It was really cool to see this thing on stage. And I got it to the back of the room. I was like, man, that thing doesn't matter where you're standing, you hear it. It's just at that right pitch. This thing really, it is a bit thin sounding, whatever, and quiet, but it's clear enough. But it's just really, if I get the right strings on this, it'll just be a sweet tone. This might be a really good recording violin, but it'll also probably be a good orchestra violin because it's not going to just stand out. But there's a big volume difference between these two anyway. This one would probably be fine in the orchestra, but you're not going to hear it because it's such a dark sounding violin. So what happens with this one is that you could play in a bluegrass band or something like that, but it's probably not going to, pop out as front as you would like. It doesn't have the mid-range. But that's not what I bought. I wanted dark and dear. Like this is like a sculpted mid kind of violin. So this one, you want a dark, really depressing sound, you got it. You want a scary sound, you got it. You want to, but it does have enough volume to it. It's just the mids are different. I like it though. Yeah, I like this. This is like this is an awesome violin. But yeah, the prices are all over the map, and that's why. Well, so some of the reasons why. I guess I'll wrap it up on this because the video can go on forever and a day talking about this topic. But yeah, price and violins. Price does not dictate quality, or more is not always better. Like again, there was violins in the $2,000 range that I wouldn't even come close to this thing. There's other violins that I were cheaper and actually had better tonal qualities than this thing. But overall package, playability, looks, the aesthetics of this thing is just fantastic. Especially those tuning pegs with the carvings on them and stuff. I've done a lot of close-ups on this violin, so you see it in the other videos. But you get the idea. You're going to get something different. So shop around, but don't don't look past the used market. Sometimes, if you know what you're looking for, in a violin, you know, try everything on the wall. Used ones, sometimes people don't know what they have, and they might sell you this for 75 bucks. The book value is probably on one of these is somewhere in the like the 250 to 450 range when they're all set up and ready to go. The guy was, you know, he was in a really good mood that day, and he was like, oh yeah, well, I got to clear out my basement, my storage area anyway. So I was like, he gave me like a phenomenal deal, like 75 bucks. I'm like, you're into playing for 75 bucks with, you know, that kind of sound. It's not bad. It's not bad. Put good strings on this. Huh, who knows what you're going to get, right? So yeah, there we go. So violin price, yeah, there we go. That's something. It's harder for newer people, but that's what you're looking at. So that's why you won't get a what price range do you buy something good at. There's no real answer for that. It's going to be very specific to the instrument you pick up at the time. All right, so hope that helps. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button, and all that good stuff. Have yourselves a great day.